Hi, this is Dan Marino. The good folks at Diabolical Podcast have kidnapped me and are demanding I tell you that the following show contains spoilers for the movie Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. If you haven't seen it, consider watching it. It's a real touchdown.
Welcome to Diabolical, the show where four long-suffering friends dissect film's most dastardly schemes, then try to improve them. I'm your host, Craig Morris, and this week's movie is Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. So, park yourself like a glove, and let's get diabolical. As ever, I'm joined by our panel of peril. Please introduce yourselves and tell us, what's your favourite Jim Carrey film?
Hello. My favourite Jim Carrey film is A Liar Liar.
I don't believe you.
Well, it is, so you just have to get over it.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
Ben?
I do love it.
Yeah, I'm Ben Steinson, and my favourite Jim Carrey film is Man on the Moon.
Ah, yeah, good choice. And Gareth?
I'm Gareth Slade, and my favourite Jim Carrey film is The Truman Show.
Ah, that was also my favourite Jim Carrey film. We watch it at least once a year in our household, and it never gets old.
I'll tell you what else is good, actually, talking about once a year. Every Christmas we watch Lemony Snicket. That's another good one.
Yeah, that is really good.
That is a good one.
Well, I assumed that Gareth would pick The Truman Show, and therefore I'm going to say, for the purposes of I hope more people watch it, that my favourite Jim Carrey film is The Majestic, which I think is a really nice movie. Later, they'll be competing for the title of this week's Most Diabolical. But first, let's take a closer look at this week's movie, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Released in 1994, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective was the launchpad vehicle for Jim Carrey's big screen career, following some notable lesser roles in such cult classics as Earth Girls Are Easy and The Deadpool, which has nothing to do with the Marvel character. It's a Clint Eastwood / Dirty Harry movie. 1994 was a mind-bogglingly huge year for cinema, not least for Carrey, who also showed up in both The Mask and Dumb and Dumber later that same year. Other notable releases of 1994 include Pulp Fiction, Forrest Gump, and the motherfucking Shawshank Redemption. In world events, Bill Clinton and Boris Yeltsin took a step towards world peace by signing the Kremlin Accords. Nelson Mandela was sworn in as South Africa's first black president. O.J. Simpson went for a long drive in his white Bronco. Sony released the first PlayStation console in Japan. Schindler's List swept the board at the Oscars with 7 wins, including Best Picture and Best Director for Steven Spielberg. And, continuing our theme of sporting mishaps, American ice skater Nancy Kerrigan was attacked by Tonya Harding's bodyguard. Ace Ventura was star Jim Carrey's breakthrough role, helping propel him to being the highest paid star in movies mere years later, collaring $20 million to star in notorious flop The Cable Guy. The film also starred Courteney Cox, another rising star who would go on to a lead role in a show named Friends later that same year. Director Tom Shadyac would go on to helm such notable fare as The Nutty Professor, Liar Liar, and Bruce Almighty. Ace would gross $107 million worldwide at the box office, making it Carrey's third highest grossing film behind The Mask and Dumb and Dumber. Ace Ventura: Pet Detective follows the eponymous protagonist as he runs rings around the combative and often dismissive Miami Police Department to conduct his own private investigation into the apparent abduction of Miami Dolphins football team mascot, actual dolphin, Snowflake. As the plot unravels, Ace deduces by process of elimination that disgraced former Miami Dolphins kicker Ray Finkel is the dolphin napper, and uncovers his motive for revenge against the team and its star player Dan Marino, along with evidence linking Finkel to Police Lieutenant Lois Einhorn. In a tense finale, Ace lays out the whole diabolical plot. Ray Finkel underwent gender reassignment in order to assume the identity of missing hiker Lois Einhorn before joining and working her way up the ranks of Miami PD, until she found herself in a position of power that would enable her to ingratiate herself to 2 hapless criminal thugs who, in exchange for their freedom from prison, could assist her in carrying a dolphin and a man back to her lair. So, what did you make of the movie?
Yeah, really, it's obviously one of those films you always remember. I've made a couple of notes. It's obviously like classic peak Jim Carrey, in my opinion. Loads of slapstick comedy. I like the car stunts as well. I like the way he gets his car beaten up and then he rolls his car later on, and obviously he's sliding into the car parking spaces. And I like he kind of rips on Bond a little bit when he does the two secs, doorbell's going on.
So unprofessional.
Yeah, the bit where the doorbell goes is so James Bond.
Fucking hell, Moneypenny. The bell's just gone.
DHL? Oh, okay. Oh, all fine. Yeah, that's true, though. The car stunts are great. Obviously, there's a more spectacular one in When Nature Calls, when he rolls the car into the space. But yeah, they're great in this one.
Very, very sorry. Yeah, I like the way he kind of rips on Bond as well when they go to that party to finger that guy who who they suspect is hiding Snowflake, and he dresses sort of Bondish and things like that, and is a lawyer specialising in food poisoning. It's pretty funny, I think. And then lots of endlessly quotable one-liners. Good film.
Udo Kier, the guy at the party. Did we all remember that Udo Kier was in this?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Ben, what did you make of the movie generally?
Out of all the movies we've discussed so far, this one worried me the most because I think it was the one I was closest to, even though I hadn't seen it for about 10 years, perhaps even more. I thought the comedy stood up quite well, considering it's coming up to 30 years old. But, the trans jokes felt really out of place. But something I didn't think I appreciated before that I really appreciate this time with the scenes with Jim Carrey and the animals. I think that was when you get to see some quite interesting moments and Ace's character come out rather than him just playing for the gags. You actually saw a genuine bit of character, I thought, in those parts.
Yeah, the one that always sticks in my mind is when he is very insulting to Courteney Cox's character, but then when she's gone, he talks to the dog.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and you're ugly, fatty, saddlebags.
Yeah, I think you can probably see already very early on, and obviously he had done the Deadpool, which wasn't a comedy, but you could already kind of see the seeds of his dramatic career in there. Like, he is a good actor. He's not just a slapstick. What he's famous for.
Well, something that really interested me as I was kind of reading up about Ace Ventura and trying to look for some stories for this was apparently Jim Carrey studied the movement of birds to use in his character of Ace Ventura, which is why you see him moving like he does.
He bobs his head quite a lot. Yeah.
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 And Gaz, what did you make of the movie?
It was okay. The first of my 6 lines of notes that I've written says there's a big hit of nostalgia straight away with the feet walking towards the screen. I've written it's like a reverse version of the end credits of The Bill. It didn't really. I enjoyed it, I did, but it didn't really make me laugh out loud. It was more sort of, oh yeah, I remember that. The one bit that made me laugh, and is the only bit that my son watched, is in the mental asylum, whatever it's supposed to be, when he does the football play in slow-mo. And my son was eating cereal at the time, and he was proper like milk dropping out of his mouth and snorting. Still didn't make him want to watch the rest of the film. But
one of my favourite segments, ad hoc segments of the podcast so far, is finding out how long Dylan stuck with the film before he decided to leave.
I think he's a good litmus test, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he made it through one whole scene this time, as opposed to the half scene of Goldfish.
Half of the
So
first
he's
scene.
getting better.
Let's never forget, the film had just opened.
Yeah, but it's obviously it's dated with the trans discrimination and
Phobia.
so forth. Phobia.
Yes, pretty much. It's pretty out there, isn't it?
But, it's okay. It's worth a watch.
I read that Jim Carrey has quasi-defended that by saying that his aim was to make his reaction to finding out that Einhorn was trans so over the top that nobody could mistake it for transphobia. They realised that it was just the joke is against the man, not the trans woman. But I don't believe that. I don't buy it.
Nah, I don't buy that.
I think
Yeah,
that's
and
bullshit.
I think when they reinforce it with everyone in the abandoned boathouse doing it, I think you
Exactly, yeah,
haven't got
kind
much of an
of
argument
falls flat,
there.
And especially because they keep playing the crying
Yeah.
game as well. It's like, for fuck's sake.
Could we share favourite lines?
Oh, yes, please do.
Yeah, favourite lines.
I had a few.
Okay.
I think,
Yeah, probably got the same as everybody.
yeah, I loved the Connery impression. Lovely party. Pity I wasn't invited. I thought that was brilliant.
And the lip movement he does afterwards.
Yeah, that was great. But I think my favourite, and this is, I think it's the delivery, I think is excellent. I'm looking for Ray Finkel, shotgun, and a clean pair of shorts.
Yeah. That is really good, actually.
Do you have a favourite line, Adam?
I'm afraid it's going to be an obvious one. It's Ventura. Yes, Satan? Yeah, that's got to be my favourite. But there's a few others I kind of like. Even though I find it's weird, where he just calls her ugly and fatty and saddlebags. It's like,
Yeah.
why? It's just one of the standout lines. But it's kind of then when he's in the apartment of Roger Podacter and Einhorn turns up and he says, "So animals can sense evil."
Gaz, did you have a favourite line?
Well, I'm a fairly simple guy, so I just like things like, yes, Satan, and I can't do it because I'm tone deaf, but just the little singing noise he does opening and closing the screen door. That genuinely makes me crease.
Yeah.
It's
great.
it's very good.
Yeah,
Just,
it's good.
Funny noises, people falling over. That's all I need.
I don't know about a favourite line, but there's a very intriguing line in that same scene. Given that this early in the movie, we're not supposed to know that Lois Einhorn is Ray Finkel. When Ace sees Einhorn in that apartment, he looks down at her crutch and he shouts, "Holy Testicle Tuesday!" What does he mean by that?
Yeah, I was confused by that this time.
I wondered if maybe they changed the edit at some point and maybe he knew then, or I don't know. It's an incredibly confusing line. What did we think of Finkel's scheme, Adam?
Well, I thought it was another sort of Goldfinger-esque, long time in the making, complex plot, to be honest. It says during the film that Finkel, I think it was roughly sort of a 10-year timeline from when he did the kick that was heard around the world, as they call it in the movie. Then he disappeared from a mental institution about 8 years previous. And in that time, apparently he's had gender reassignment, joined the Miami PD and risen to the rank of lieutenant, which is quite something for somebody who's a missing hiker. So I thought it was, it's not beyond the realms of possibility, but it's a bit of a stretch.
All right then. Ben, what did you make of the scheme?
Quite simply put, 3 florets of broccoli.
We got a new low bar.
Yeah, you know about.
It's exactly 1 floret of broccoli lower than Goldfinger. But on a par with Demolition Man.
Well, I don't think enough said, you don't need to say anymore.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything else?
I agree with what Adam said. It's complex, convoluted, it's too long in the making. And as you'll see later on, I have solved this once again with a foolproof plan.
Wow, look forward to that. Gareth, what did you make of Finkel/Einhorn's plot?
Similar to Turner and Steiner, it's very long-winded, sort of vaguely non-sequitur. I know it's a comedy film, and so you wouldn't necessarily go into this sort of psychological depth, but would she not just have assumed a male identity if she could have, instead of waiting the 8 years? Or is that something in her psychological makeup that she wanted to transition anyway? That part I just find slightly confusing. But again, it's a knockabout comedy film taking the piss out of trans people, so it's fine.
Anything goes.
It's fine.
This is the part of the show where our panel of peril compete for the title of this week's Most Diabolical, and with it, the honour of choosing next week's movie and hosting the show. Ray Finkel's goal was to enact revenge against the Miami Dolphins, and his plan was to hide his identity, retrain as a high-ranking police officer, in order to recruit criminal thugs to help kidnap a dolphin and an American football star. But the plan was unsuccessful. What would you have done differently?
Well, as we all know, the original plot is centered around gender reassignment and basically transitioning to a lady to fool everybody and to remain incognito, as it were. I've decided to stick with that kind of theme, but I think in a much more believable way. So we'll see how we go. So Finkel obviously goes into, after his kick heard around the world, goes into hiding and plotting his revenge on Dan Marino. And in his troubled isolation, he comes across the services of a Dr. Biber, and he is also a renowned plastic surgeon, and he has had the experience of changing lots of people, and most recently he changed a very small Jewish boy into a tall black basketball player, and had helped another gentleman also change his gender. So with the help of Dr. Biber, he becomes a dolphin over a number of years. And enlisting the help of the two thugs in the original movies, they exchange him and the place of him and Snowflake. So he is in the tank. And one day, Dan Marino's there, and he thinks, oh, you know what, I'll go and feed a sardine to old Snowflake, my old mate. So he does. And then, of course, this is the moment Ray Finkel's been waiting for. Marino sticks his hand over with a fish hanging up, and of course, Finkel jumps up, grabs him by the hand, and drags him in the pool, swims around with him a bit, and then basically kills him. And that's how he gets his revenge. And nobody's any the wiser.
And he's now a dolphin for the rest of his life.
And he's a dolphin, yeah. But he's happy.
Okay. So, is Dr. Biber mentioned in the movie?
No, he's a character from South Park.
South Park, right? Yeah, I was thinking, isn't this the plot of South Park? Yeah,
yes,
I got it when as soon as you said the little Jewish boy.
Yeah, I remember that part. And
yeah, I was hoping that would throw a few breadcrumbs to you.
Does one of the characters in South Park also become a dolphin? Or
Yes, it is. Yeah, Gerald, Kyle's dad, becomes a dolphin. That's precisely why it inspired me.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you very much, Adam. Now, Ben.
Okay, like Adam, I will be sticking with the whole taking another person's identity and working my way up through the ranks of the police force. But I felt Einhorn's scheme didn't go far enough. See, the Dolphins don't win the Superbowl. Big whoop. My scheme aims to take down the entire organization, and as an added bonus, Dan Marino with it. After all, he was the one who couldn't hold the ball the right way. So first of all, as a police lieutenant, or whatever the hell I am, I'd publicly announce a clampdown on white supremacy. We'd raid clan chapters, seizing offensive items from them, as well as from private collectors. It would be quite a high-profile crackdown, and the city would be abuzz with talk of it. With a number of white supremacists in custody, I'd start brokering deals on the down low, quid pro quo. In their interviews with officers, the racists would then start hinting at Mr. Big running things behind the scenes. But obviously they can't say too much for fear of reprisal. After some long, hard interrogation, two of them would crack. It's Dan Marino, they would cry. Dan Marino is the Grand Dragon. Then would become the fun part. Having easy access to Dan Marino's schedule, I'd pick a time when he's out of the house, perhaps during a game, and send over a SWAT team. In the raid, led by me, my officers would discover a collection of Nazi memorabilia. Remember the goods I seized earlier? We'd have Marino locked up in hours. Of course, he'd plead his innocence, but we'd have witnesses who say different. It would be a media circus. After hours of borderline inhumane interrogation, the gravity of Marino's situation would be setting in, and he'd do anything to end this horror. That's when we'd tell him, we're after the organ grinder, not the monkey. We want the Grand Wizard. I don't know what you're talking about, he would protest. Then I'd slowly plant the seed that maybe the Dolphin organization led by owner Wayne Huizenga was to blame. I'd ask Marino to recall any instances of unsavory behavior, a comment, a decision that seemed unfair. In his desperation to exonerate himself, he'd start to come around to my way of thinking. Hey, perhaps the Dolphins planted the Nazi shit in your house as an insurance policy, I would hint. With his mind churning, I'd offer him a plea deal, testify that the organisation is rife with racism, and we'd make sure he got off lightly. The damage to his reputation would have already been done by then anyway. Another raid, this time on the Joe Robbie Stadium, and some more Nazi memorabilia, and bada bing, bada boom, the Miami Dolphins would be in tatters. I'd have my revenge, and would even be commended for my role in making Miami a better place.
All right, thank you very much, Ben. And Gaz, your scheme, please.
Well, my plan is different. It's simultaneously far less complicated and slightly complex. It's quite statistic heavy is the only thing. The statistics are the thing here that make it complex. The means for ruining Dan Marino and the team are simple.
Okay.
Okay, so in 1983, the year of Finkel's botched kick at Super Bowl 17, the average NFL player's salary was around $130,000. If they invested every penny of that salary for their single year of playing for the Miami Dolphins, by 1994, they would have nearly $1 million. I've Googled it. It's fine. It works out. In 1994, the cost of a TV spot during the Super Bowl would set you back around $900,000, leaving you with a decent $100,000's worth of wiggle room for your shoot, edit, etc. of your TV spot. It therefore being well within the realms of the now Einhorn's financial situation, I propose a gentler solution to Einhorn's vendetta against Dan Marino, Snowflake the Dolphin, and the Miami Dolphin football team. There's no need for murder. Peace and love. Peace and love. You buy a TV spot. You put your case forwards. The laces were in. The ball cannot travel in the correct line when the laces are in. Marino borderline intentionally caused your kick to miss. By not taking responsibility for his actions, Dan Marino has caused great mental distress/illness to the point where you had a projector in your childhood bedroom replaying the footage over and over again. Viewing figures for the 1994 edition of the Super Bowl hovered around a cool 90 million. What better way to enact revenge, or comeuppance if you rather, on Dan Marino than to turn over a third of the country's opinion against him? People would throw tomatoes at him on the street. They would surely daub his car with sexually explicit graffiti and ensure that Einhorn would be remembered as the hero of their entwined story. Not simply justice, something I call ultimate justice. Fuck Dan Marino, and I rest my case.
Throw tomatoes at him on the street. I love that. You got any tomatoes? There's Dan Marino.
And then sure to inscribe sexually explicit graffiti on his car.
Mum, I'm just popping down the shops. Well, make sure you take your tomatoes in case you bump into Dan Marino.
Oh, yeah. It'd be in the Constitution.
The, 51st Amendment or something like that.
Okay, so remember what's at stake is the opportunity to choose next week's movie and host the show. There's some absolutely diabolical schemes there, but there can be only one winner. So just to address your plans and what I made of them, being that 3 of the 4 of us have now had a chance to choose the movie and host, I'm going to give a little bit of extra weight to Adam in the hope that I'll be able to choose him. So with that in mind...
It's a sympathy vote, essentially.
With that in mind, yeah, sympathy vote.
Default.
I fully reject that.
2 greatest words in the English language.
With that in mind, I've decided that Adam is disqualified for stealing the plot from South Park. Sorry, Adam.
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
Ben, I've made some notes on your thing. I think my main issue with it is that I'm 90% sure that white supremacy not only is not illegal in the USA, but it's quite encouraged. I think it's, if anything, it's having a golden era.
Yeah, but we're in 2022 now. This was back in 1994. It's a time of ideals and morals.
I still don't think...
I officially announced a clampdown as my role as lieutenant.
A clampdown is one thing, but I don't think that you're still not allowed to arrest people for having Nazi memorabilia. So I think that plan falls apart there. With that in mind, I am going to declare this week's winner, Gaz. I think his plan is sound and it's really good. I think it would work actually a lot better than the plan in the movie because, you know, nobody's going to know the truth in the actual movie. Marino's death and Snowflake's death doesn't tell the world that Ray Finkel was right all along, whereas an ad in Superbowl showing that the laces were indeed in would ruin Marino's reputation, but also bolster Finkel's. So for that reason, he's a worthy winner. So with that in mind, Gaz, what movie have you picked for us to review next time?
Well, I've got a long list, but I've decided to go with something a lot more modern than the films that we've covered so far. I've also gone for a different genre. My favourite genre, horror. We're doing a lovely horror film. The film was released, I should say, in 2017. It's Jordan Peele's directorial debut. We're watching Get Out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Tis good.
So have fun with that plan.
Yeah, I have seen Get Out, and it's quite the elaborate plan. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. If you didn't enjoy this episode, just keep it to yourself. No one gives a shit what you think. Why are you going around telling people? Why are you bad-mouthing people? This is something we enjoy. Just keep it to yourself. Fuck. To catch all the latest from the Diabolical podcast, you can follow us on Instagram, maybe, and on Twitter. Just, I don't know, have a look. We might be on there. And join us next week when we'll be diving into the murky world of Get Out.